Today, we're going to be talking about how to move out of intense turmoil and into extreme success.
Welcome to Thriving Launch with Louise Congdon and Kamala Chambers, the show for heart-centered entrepreneurs who want it all.
5 days a week, we bring you different segments to inspire you to live a life of freedom. We interview the leading experts in the field of business, health, and love. Be sure to check out Training Tuesdays, where we give you a clear action plan to grow your own business.
Do you have a product or service that you would like to sell online? Or maybe you've been thinking about it, but you're reserved to do it because you need a website, you need complicated systems, and you need to spend money? Well, I've created a completely free course that teaches you how to use Facebook in a purely organic way. This means no ads and no money are needed. You can use Facebook completely free. So head on over to thrivinglaunch.com, opt into my Profit from Social Media course. I'm going to teach you the free methods to using Facebook to make money today.
Our guest today, by the time she was 16 years old, was living on the streets of Baltimore with the drugs, the prostitutes, the pimps, the police, and the violence. She's been able to get 4 degrees. She is now a doctor, and she teaches people how to run 7-figure businesses. We are here with Dr. Venus. It's so fantastic to have you on the show. So I know that you were in a position where you were on the streets of Baltimore and you went through a very challenging youth, some challenges that most people could never even experience or relate to. And, we all have our struggles on one form or another, but you've gone through so much. And you went on to earn 2 master's degrees and a PhD from Stanford University. I'd love to hear about that journey.
Okay. So I have 4 degrees. I have a bachelor's, MA, MFA, and a PhD. The MA and PhD are from Stanford. The MFA was from Ohio State University, and the BFA is from Adelphi University. I have 4 degrees, so I kind of stayed in school because when the truth is, it wasn't so much for education; it's because they would feed me. It was more about survival than it was about ambition. But I guess the best way to answer your question, that's not too graphic because I don't want to,
You could go as deep as you want to go.
Well, I know, but I don't want to take people through all those changes. But what I can say is this: I think that the pain is preparation for your destiny, and I don't think my experience is singular in that to live through certain things, it changes you. But I don't think it's a hierarchy of pain. I think that sisters who have had situations that aren't as extreme as mine still hurt as much. The thing that I'm more interested in is, how do you have that pain be profitable? I think that there's this whole thing about learning your lesson. I'm asking my clients, my tribes, to do something different. I'm asking you to not only identify the lesson, but actually identify the blessing in the pain. And I tell you, that's what I've done. When I look at my mother taking a pair of scissors and cutting my hair off till it was bleeding on the scalp and told me I was ugly, which was no fun at 12, by the way. If that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have the compassion I have for women. I wouldn't have the compassion of what it means to not feel pretty, to feel ugly, to feel like you're not worth shit. And if you're trying to make paper, you got to turn that. Because otherwise you will undercharge, you'll barter, you give stuff away for free. It's just going to be a mess. So I think that what I've learned through my particular walk, and I think every person has pain and every woman has a walk, is how do you take the things that hurt you the most, and instead of hiding from them, to lean into them, to literally find the diamond in the coal. Because that's where your moneymaker is. I say your $1 million moneymaker is not located in your accolades, not located in your skill. It's not located in your brain. It's located in your pain. where life broke your heart. And it's the last place we want to look, but it's the only place to look because it's what's made you who you are. You know, you have a lot of skills, but nobody has your story, baby. Nobody has your walk. And that cannot be duplicated. You are God wrapped in flesh. You are the one we've been waiting for. You are the way, the truth, and the light. And until you embrace that, you'll always be a slave to other people's addictions, to other people's agendas, to other people's emotional immaturities. And I don't care if you have the corner office or you stand on a street corner. It doesn't matter to me. The bottom line is you are a woman with a destiny. And I tend to really focus my business model on Black women. And this, for two reasons. One, I think Black women don't know what it feels like to be first. No one models that for us. We always have to get in where we can fit in. So on my campus, Black women come first, but that doesn't mean only, right? And also, it's my way of manifesting God in thought, word, and deed. I say that until Black women heal the history of hurts we've inherited, the world is not going to work. And I could say the same thing for Asian women, for Latino women, for Irish women, for German women. Every woman has a cultural consciousness she's inherited around her money. And no one talks to us about that. No one talks to us about, oh, dad, if you were born, in your family as the firstborn, you're trained to be taught to do everything for other people. So you can't delegate, you know what I'm saying? So, there's a whole history of hurts that your body evokes just by virtue of you having a womb. And no one talks about that in relation to our money, except for me, in terms of the healing part of it. So I don't think that the pain is negative. I don't think that the pain is without purpose.
Yeah, well, what a beautiful way to be able to approach it, is being able to see that the pain has purpose. And it's so much more empowering than being a victim of our experiences. And I love how you've transformed and transmitted all the experiences that you've come through and really used it to catapult your success. I know that one of the things that you say is why you say that all women are slaves. And I'd love to hear why all women are slaves.
Okay, that's a great question. And I don't know if anybody but you has asked me that on an interview. I've had it asked in different formats, but never in this context. This is, as I mentioned a bit before, I say every person has pain and every woman has a walk. And I say that you were born into a history of hurts that are culturally biased. I think that we're all spiritual beings having a human experience. And if we are spirit, just like you can feel somebody who's transitioned, or you can feel somebody's energy when they walk in the room and you want to get away from it, I say we're all connected. Energetically, we're all the same. We're all one. So if we're all one, if we're all spirit, and that means we're connected, that means we're still connected to our ancestors. And if we're still connected to our ancestors, we're still connected to the wound, right? So for African American women, I'm thinking in terms of my research as a scholar, a PhD from Stanford, in terms of the transatlantic slave trade. I'm thinking about us, our bodies being sold and our babies being ripped from us and our men being killed and lynched, all for some cotton, some tobacco, some cane for a bag of fucking rice. You know what I'm saying? So that shapes your relationship to money energetically. But I could say the same thing for a Jewish woman who had parents who came from the Holocaust. She's going to have a very specific relationship to money and herself because of that history of hurts. So, but if you actually think that your relationship to money has something to do with willpower, then you're not going to win at this. Because money has nothing to do with effort. It has everything to do with energy. So when I say all women are slaves, I'm saying you are a slave to a history of hurts that's undistinguished as such, and you act it out in your behaviors, in your performance. So what I've noticed with Black women is that we have a tendency, generally speaking, I'm not suggesting every sister is the same, because we're not. There are some sisters who can't stand my guts. But that we have a practice of being independent. Well, that's only because our ancestors had to be independent. And that's how we survive. The institution of slavery is being independent, being strong. But if you're trying to build a business, being strong, being independent won't let you delegate, right? And so if it doesn't let you delegate, you can't grow your business. But that's a survival strategy, boo. That's not a characteristic. That's not a character trait. That is a survival strategy that's been passed on generationally that has become our normal. And that makes you a slave. Until you have your own money, until you heal emotionally from the wounds that keep you in bondage, you will never be free.
So naturally, the next question for me is, how do we heal that? When I hear you talking about this energetic connection, this umbilical cord to our past and to our ancestors, it really resonates with me. I'm not a Black woman, so I also recognize that there's a certain depth or a certain connection that Black women will have, as so do I have this other connection as well. And for me, anyways, in my studies of women's rights, one of the things that I really felt for was how women tend to kind of seem to get the worst of racism or any circumstance, because women traditionally have not been as appreciated or gotten as many advantages as men. And then when you break that down into races, Black women and Native American women have gotten a really difficult time. So how do you heal such a deep rooted tie to this past?
It's a beautiful question. I think you heal it one wound at a time. I don't think it can be healed I don't think it's like a magic pill. I can tell you what I've done, and I can tell you what I teach my students and my clients to do, whether it be at a VIP day, a webinar, a teleseminar, a live event, a speaking engagement. You have to start somewhere, okay, in terms of healing. And it's always an internal conversation with self. I call it a street fight. So this is how I get this. I mean, you have to get in a street fight with yourself on your own behalf. You don't have to worry about master trying to keep you in bondage. You are now keeping your own self in bondage. So what I propose is that we start off with the 5 Ds, okay, of doing the impossible. Now, the impossible is not going to look impossible. It's going to look like normal. Like, oh, I really can't have that raise, or I really can't make that money, or no one's going to listen to me, or no one's going to pay me. That's your impossible. That's what your impossible is not going to look fantastic. It's going to look like you can't have it. So if we really break it down, your real life is where you're in bondage, where you're playing small, when you're being safe, where you're staying stuck. It's not fantastical. It's not extreme. It's your normal. So what I do to start all of my clients off, including myself, is I start off with the 5 Ds. And the first place we start in terms of healing is you got to declare. You know, you got to declare your own independence from the tyranny and strongholds that have kept you safe, stuck, and small in your personal life, in your cultural life, and in your professional life. So there was a whole time when I was pissed off at white people, and rightly so. They did some bullshit. White privilege showed its ass, and I lost my temper, right? So it happens. But there came a point where I realized that they were only, and this is going to sound kind of deep, or I was going to say fucked up, but we'll see how it lands. This is where I realized that what I was projecting to them, I was trying so hard to be as good as my peers when I was a professor, that I came off as insecure. I came off as defensive. I came off as condescending. And so what ends up happening is we take actions that get a reaction that we've been feeding. And I had to heal my own inferiority. I had to take the case that I thought I was less than white people. They didn't tell me that. I thought it. I related to myself as less, so that meant I had to flex more. Are you tracking what I'm saying, Louise?
Oh,
it really resonates and really reminds me of the work of Don Miguel Ruiz. It's Toltec wisdom, but it's so resonant because Don Miguel talks about the domestication process where we're kids and we're brought into this world where there's a whole bunch of rules and ways that you need to be and not be. And you go through a domestication process, but by the time you're a certain age and you're actually a free adult who can choose about what you've been domesticated about and the beliefs that you've been given, you've been so well domesticated that you're kind of like that elephant that when it was a baby, it had a chain on. And now when it's a full grown adult and it doesn't even have that chain, it's just a string reminding it
Exactly.
that those chains are there, but the
Yep.
elephant has mentally constrained himself or herself to believe that that chain is there, and that elephant won't even in the midst of a fire, that elephant will not try to break that piece of rope.
Won't even try. Won't even try. And it's beyond mental. It's physiological. You see, survival is not a mindset. We actually spend more time trying to change our minds about shit that can't be changed. Survival is a physiological condition that is triggered when you're threatened. You would either flee, freeze, or fight. So, what my teachings are not rooted in mindset, my teachings are rooted in the physiology of survival. And what I point to is you have to declare your independence, okay? You have to determine where you are with yourself. You have to develop desire so you start to be pulled by your passion instead of trying to force an outcome. You have to design a relationship with yourself that's not rooted on any evidence or the past. And you have to do your own impossible. Now, your own impossible may be forgiving your mother. Your own impossible may be asking for that raise. Your own impossible may be saying, I do. It doesn't look, you're a whole person. You're not just a business person here and then a mom there. You're a whole person. So that, you can't cut you in half and say my business person stays out the door. You are a holistic being. Okay. So the way you do one thing is how you do everything. So you're going to have to really take you on the way you are about your lover. When you are in love with somebody, you get to know them. You seek them out. You figure out how to please them. You are all up in it. You got to get that way about yourself. You got to get so interested in yourself that you understand what triggers you, what hurts your feelings, what takes you out the game, how you fight, how you leave, how you stay, how you make people pay, how you get back at people. You got to get that kind of interested in your triggers so you have some say so and other people can't push your buttons. Because I promise you this, as a business owner, owning a business, being an entrepreneur, asking for money is inherently threatening. It's inherently threatening. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, damn, what they tell me no. So you're already in survival mode just by being in business. Just by being in business. All of your insecurities and all your wounds are going to show up. You're going to go on a sales call and choke because you're afraid they're going to yell at you. You're not going to go to the networking meeting because you don't think you're dressed well enough. You're not going to ask for the sale because you don't think you're going to think they think that you're begging. Those are all your survival strategies that keep you safe. And until those are turned, you cannot become a Black woman millionaire or a millionaire across the board. Not, at least not the way I do it. Okay, you can do it by, tricking people or lying or all that extra. But if you want a sustainable business that's rooted in your worth, you have to heal, boo. You have to heal.
That's really powerful. And it's something that I know when I first started doing business with Kamala, I had this idea that business and self were really separate and that there could be a business me. And I had never really successfully run a business. I had successfully built a following and created the beginnings of a really awesome tribe around me. And Kamala said, you're a businessman, Luis. You really have this. And she really brought that out in me, which was a really incredible gift from her. And now that I've been in business with her for a couple of years, something that I really connected with when you were talking is that business is a very personal thing. Asking for money is not only learning how to just do kind of like follow the script, so to speak, or do it properly, the mechanics of it, but there's also the feeling of it and going up against yourself to saying, yeah, I deserve more money. I'm going to ask clients for more money now, or you know what? I'm going to stop doing free stuff, and this is a business now. And that for me was a huge part of the process of developing myself and my own self-worth and confidence, and just really validate what you're sharing.
Well, thank you. And the good news is it can be learned. Do you know what I mean? That's the benefit. I mean, thank God we're not who we used to be. Do you know what I mean? Like, we have another day, babe. We get up, we get another shot at this, and yeah, shit was hard. Yes, it hurt. But the thing is, and this is my prayer for everyone within the sound of my voice. See, baby, you're counting all the times you got knocked down. I'm counting the times you got back up. And that matters. That matters in this. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you're going to be your own boss, if you're going to make your own paper, Inherent in the definition of entrepreneur is risk. But I promise you this, you're a good bet. You're going to have you for the rest of your life. And that 401k will go away, that man will go away, that woman will go away, but you're going to have you. You're going to wake up with you every day. You're going to go to sleep with you every night. So why not heal you? Why not invest the time, energy, money, and emotional intimacy with yourself to be your own best thing, to have your life make a profound difference for the people who could only hear your words? See, you are the answer to millions of people's prayers, but they can't find you because you're still hiding in plain sight. But when you let your life shine, when you let your life shine, there are going to be so many souls and so many spirits. They're going to say to you, where you been? You are the answer to my prayers. I've been praying for you. I didn't know you were going to talk like that. I didn't know you were going to look like that. But you are the one that I have been waiting for. And I thank you for being more committed to your future than your past. That's what it means to be an entrepreneur, to be more committed to what can be than what used to be.
Wow, so powerful. We've been here with Dr. Venus on the Thriving Launch podcast, talking about how to break free from the past and move into the most successful future. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone, and keep thriving.
You've been listening to the Thriving Launch podcast. For books and resources related to today's episode, make sure to head over to thrivinglaunch.com. We'll see you there. Be sure to check out the next episode where we're going to talk with Luis and me about how to launch a podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate us on iTunes and subscribe.